Well, I've had a question in my mind for many, many years, and that is, how can you speed up learning? And my conclusion, my observation from this is that any adult can learn a second language to fluency inside 6 months. In 1981, I took myself to China, and I decided that I was going to be native level in Chinese inside 2 years. And I also went in with a different idea, which was taking all of the conclusions from psychological research up to that point and applying them to the learning process. What was really cool was that in 6 months I was fluent in Mandarin Chinese, and it took a little bit longer to get up to native. But I looked around and I saw all of these people from different countries struggling terribly with Chinese. I saw Chinese people struggling terribly to learn English and other languages. And so my question got refined down to, how can you help a normal adult learn a new language quickly, easily, and effectively? Well, it's actually really easy. You look around for people who can already do it, you look for situations where it's already working, and then you identify the principles and apply them. It's called modeling. And my conclusion, my observation from this is that any adult can learn a second language to fluency inside 6 months. Now, when I say this, most people think I'm crazy. This is not possible. Now, a lot of people think they can't draw. However, there are some key principles, 5 principles that you can apply, and you can actually learn to draw in 5 days. So if you draw like this, you learn these principles for 5 days and apply them, and after 5 days you can draw something like this. Now, I know this is true because that was my first drawing, and after 5 days of applying these principles, that was what I was able to do. And in the same way, with the same logic, anybody can learn a second language in 6 months. How? Before I get into those, I just want to talk about 2 myths. The first is that you need talent. Let me tell you about Zoe. Zoe came from Australia, went to Holland, was trying to learn Dutch, struggling extremely, and finally, people were saying you're completely useless, you're not talented, give up, you're a waste of time, and she was very, very depressed. And then she came across these 5 principles, she moved to Brazil, and she applied them, and in 6 months she was fluent in Portuguese. So talent doesn't matter. People also think that immersion in a new country is the way to learn a language, but look around Hong Kong. Look at all the Westerners who've been here for 10 years who don't speak a word of Chinese. Immersion per se does not work. Why? Because a drowning man cannot learn to swim. So, what are the 5 principles that you need to pay attention to? First, there are 4 words: attention, meaning, relevance, and memory. And these interconnect in very, very important ways, especially when you're talking about learning.
우리의 뇌는 어떤 것, 어떤 정보가 우리와 관련이 있을 때 그것에 집중하게 됩니다. 생존, 개인적인 목표 등과 연관이 있을 때 비로소야 그것의 의미를 기억 회로에 저장하게 되는 것이죠. 이러한 집중의 상태, 이것이야말로 언어 공부에서 정말 중요한 역할을 하는 아이인데요. 언어를 배울 때 우리는 뇌가 고도로 집중하는 그 순간에 가장 효율적으로 성장하고 나아갈 수 있습니다. 그리고 이 순간은 바로 우리와 연관이 있거나 흥미로운 내용을 접할 때 찾아오죠.
The first rule, first principle for learning a language is focus on language content that is relevant to you, which brings us to tools. We master tools by using tools, and we learn tools the fastest when they're relevant to us. So let me share a story. A keyboard is a tool. Typing Chinese a certain way, there are methods for this. That's a tool. I had a colleague many years ago who went to night school Tuesday night, Thursday night, 2 hours each time, practicing at home. She spent 9 months and she did not learn to type Chinese. And one night we had a crisis. We had 48 hours to deliver a training manual in Chinese. And she got the job, and I can guarantee you in 48 hours she learned to type Chinese because it was relevant, it was meaningful, it was important. She was using a tool to create value. So the second principle for learning a language is to use your language as a tool to communicate right from day one, as a kid does.
크리스는 3번째 원리로 이해의 중요성을 꼽습니다. 우리는 어떠한 메시지, 그 뜻을 이해하게 되었을 때 그것을 무의식적으로 습득하게 됩니다. 그것의 의미를 이해하지 못한 채로 저장만 한다면 효과적으로 습득이 되지 않는다는 것이죠. 언어를 배우는 것은 단순히 지식을 많이 쌓는 것이 아닙니다. 그것보다는 우리의 몸을 단련시키는 훈련에 가깝죠. 예를 들어보겠습니다. 여기 한 학생이 있습니다. 그녀는 학창시절 내내 좋은 영어 성적을 거두었고 졸업 후 미국으로 가게 되죠. 하지만 그녀가 맞닥뜨린 상황은 학창시절과는 조금 달랐습니다. 그녀는 아주 좋은 영어 성적을 가지고 있었지만 현지 사람들이 하는 영어를 알아들을 수가 없었죠. 그 이유는 바로 언어 데이터베이스에 그 언어의 소리가 잘 저장이 되지 않았기 때문인데요.
Because we have filters in our brain that filter in the sounds that we are familiar with, and they filter out the sounds of languages that we're not. And if you can't hear it, you won't understand it. If you can't understand it, you're not going to learn it. So you actually have to be able to hear these sounds. There are ways to do that, but it's physiological training. Speaking takes muscle. You've got 43 muscles in your face. You have to coordinate those in a way that you make sounds that other people will understand.
마지막 5번째 원리는 우리의 기분, 심리 생리학적 상태라고 합니다. 짜증나거나 부정적인 감정을 가졌을 때는 공부를 하더라도 습득이 완전히 되지 않습니다. 고도의 집중이 효과적으로 될 수 없는 컨디션이기 때문이죠. 반대로 심리 상태가 긍정적일 때는 습득 속도에서 현저히 차이가 난다고 합니다. 이러한 심리 상태, 집중하기 좋은 상태를 만들기 위해 여러분이 중요하게 생각하셔야 할 것이 있습니다.
You need to be tolerant of ambiguity. If you're one of those people who needs to understand 100% every word you're hearing, you will go nuts because you'll be incredibly upset all the time because you're not perfect. If you're comfortable with getting some, not getting some, just paying attention to what you do understand, you're going to be fine, you'll be relaxed, and you'll be learning quickly.
6개월 만에 언어에 유창해질 수 있는 5가지 원리 어떠셨나요? 크리스도 말했듯이 6개월 만에 원어민 수준으로 되는 것은 사실 불가능하다고 볼 수 있지만 어느 정도 유창해지는 것은 가능한 이야기입니다. 여러분도 이 5가지 원리를 영어뿐만 아니라 다른 언어를 공부하실 때도 잘 적용해서 효과적으로 언어 공부를 하실 수 있길 바랍니다.